Hello, I'm Dr. Catherine Hayward. Welcome to Please Continue, I'm Listening. I have the joy of being here with Sheila Magalhaes, who is a yoga instructor, an owner of an extraordinary yoga studio in East Longmeadow, Massachusetts, called Heartsong Yoga, which is, as you get to know Sheila, you will find that this is a very appropriate name for her business. And she is a contributor, a facilitator to Living Whole Online and contributes tremendously, especially to our monthly webinars, our Sunday TLCs. We have a chair yoga class and many other things that are coming down the pipeline. And it just gives me great pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you so much, Catherine. I am honored. I really, truly am. It's a joy and it's a gift to be with you and to share with the Living Whole community. And I'm really just happy to answer any questions or tell a story or share some inspiration, whatever unfolds for us.
Well, I would like to start by having you tell your story of how you got into yoga because it's one of my favorite stories.
Well, we're going back a few years. The first thing I always do is, how old is my daughter? She's 35. So 35 years ago, when she was born, she was almost 3 months premature. She weighed 2.5 pounds. She was this big, this tiny little thing. And I had a 2-year-old at home as well. And that feisty little girl, oh my gosh, she spent 3 months in the hospital. And then we were going back and forth, and I was dedicating all my time to taking care of her and helping her grow and managing the household and the 2-year-old Nicholas, and Libby was just resting at Bay State Medical. And I was driving back and forth, and oh my goodness, my husband was holding on the fort. Anyways, that beautiful girl came home, and I think one of the things that happens sometimes is you're on high alert, doing the work, doing it, and then it sort of slows down a little and you go, whoa, something's not quite right. And I just felt this sense of, and it was hard. I couldn't even say it out loud because you don't say, oh, I'm unhappy when you have 2 beautiful children and they're healthy and and life is good. You can't really say that, right? Or I was back to work. I was going to school at night. What the heck? I was doing all this amazing stuff, holding it together, but something wasn't right. This very wise woman said to me, she was my therapist. She said, I think you should go to yoga. I would really like for you to go to yoga. I said, I don't like yoga. I'd been to yoga. No, I'm not going to yoga. I don't have any time for yoga. And she said, well, I really think it would be a good idea if you go this particular class, this particular teacher. And I was like, all right. And it was this feeling of coming home. It was the weirdest, strangest, surreal experience of taking rest for the first time in months. Is something called shavasana at the end of class, where you lie down and you close your eyes and you don't do anything. Some people are like, you don't do nothing, nothing. No, you just lie down. And the teacher said, you're perfect just the way you are. I went, whoa, whoa. Something just cracked my heart open. You know that feeling when like it's that, this is right? Whatever that was, every Monday night, I started to go to class. Tony would come home, I'd hand over the baby. Nick would probably be eating his, if I was lucky, I made him some supper. If not, Tony was going to take care of things. And I went off. I went to class once a week. And then I thought, oh my gosh, I have to share this with people. I have to share this. And everybody was like, yoga? What's yoga? Yoda, yogurt, that airy, fairy, earthy, crunchy thing, what? And nobody knew what it was because it was in the early days. And was like, yeah, the Beatles did yoga, in the 70s. Um, what are you doing, yoga? But I went away and I did a teacher training, and it was a month-long teacher training, which my friends thought, "You're crazy. You're leaving your kids and you're going away for a month." Well, what's a month? This much, that much of life, really. And Tony brought the kids up once a week on a Sunday, and I feel like I said to them, "Mom's gonna come home. I'm off taking care of myself. I am, but I'm coming home and I love you, and it's gonna be okay." And they were well taken care of by the tribe, the community, the people. And then I just came home and I did it. I opened a yoga studio. I was like, how audacious is this? Open a yoga studio? Well, it was just a little room with a friend, and we coordinated our childcare. She got her teacher training certification. I had mine, and we taught yoga. That's what we did. And then it just started to grow. And it grew and it grew and it grew, just like it grew. Heartsong Yoga is what we named it because of the heart growing and growing and growing, like the Grinch. Like got 3 sizes bigger and, busts out of the box. That's how that yoga makes me feel. It's like your heart just expands. And it's an experience. You can't really describe it. What does that feel like? Hard to describe.
Why did you choose the name Heart Song?
Heart song, heart song. There was a chant, a song that they used to sing at Kripalu. Yoga it's a very creative, mystical kind of a practice. It's over 5,000 years old. And as it's come through into its current incarnation, people think about it as being fitness a lot of times. Stretching, strengthening, flexibility. I can't do yoga, I can't touch my toes. Well, that idea, there was, like I said, this sense of the heart expanding, but this chant was, um, listen to my heart song. And you just say it over and over again. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. And it would say something like, I'm always with you. I will never forget you. I will always love you. Listen to my heart song. And that was like in my head. Um, y- y- there was no internet. It had just begun. One of my friends had a computer. One. We didn't have cell phones. But I remember trying to make sure that no one else had the name, like Heartsong Yoga. Am I going to be in trouble if I name my studio? Like, what do I do? There was one place out in Oregon, and still every once in a while people mix us up.
Huh.
Um, but Heartsong Yoga came and it stuck, and that's who we are, Heartsong Yoga. And so it's yoga of the heart. Every practice is of the heart. So more than fitness, more than exercise. And then the more science caught up over the decades, because back then you couldn't get any information about the benefits of yoga except how do you feel? I feel good. Well, can you I don't know, track that? Can you um, do a study with that? How do you know? How do you prove it? And a lot of places in the world want proof. They want to see it in black and white. Like, here are the benefits. This is why you do yoga. If you do yoga, then this will happen. Well, we don't really know what's going to happen next. We have no idea. But you might come to yoga and go, oh, the one thing I didn't know that I needed is right here. I didn't know that. And then science says, oh my gosh, guess what? It does. The yogis, the ancient yogis, going back to 300 BC, written down. We study these texts translated from Sanskrit. We study them today, and they're full of wisdom. And they said yoga is the cessation of the thought waves of the mind, the cessation of the thought waves of the mind. And what do we do in science now? We measure the brain. And what do we see? Brain waves. What happens when you relax? They slow down, right? So even just that makes me go, whoa, this is amazing. The yogis talked about breath. They said, even out your breathing and your mind will settle. Take a longer exhalation and you will be fully present in the moment. Now, science is talking about breathing. Physicians and therapists are saying box breathe, even breath, long exhalation stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system and you will relax. It's all there in the yoga science. It's just fascinating. So, if you want, you can do a lot of studies nowadays and you can see the results. And it's happening more and more. So, physicians are saying, hey, this is good stuff. It was a therapist that brought me to yoga. She was very forward thinking. And she's a student of mine today, 30 years later.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, you know, just the gift of community. We talk a lot about longevity, as you do. We know the aspects of longevity. If you come to a yoga class regularly or a studio, you've got community, you've got friends, you have people who are there to support you, you have a teacher to help you down regulate your nervous system. And that's one of the measures of longevity. Maybe that's gardening or singing or dancing or doing something creative, but it could be yoga. This is just one of the tools. It's one of the tools. You have your community, you have a spiritual center, you have a sense of something greater than yourself that guides you in your lifetime, whatever that is. Ever is what do we say, the God of your understanding. That's also a longevity practice, right? Um, you're moving. You're moving your body. Movement is medicine. And it can be simple and gentle, and it can be in a chair, or it could be dynamic and fast and fun. Everything's fun. You gotta be fun. You gotta have playfulness, right? I call that spiritual muscles. Develop those spiritual muscles as well as your heart. So all of those things are wrapped in with this practice, but you don't have to know that. All you have to do is come and take a breath. And you're like, I think I feel better. Wow, that's interesting. So listen to your heart song because that's your inner teacher. And everyone has an inner teacher. Yeah.
When I first heard the name Heartsong Yoga, it resonated for me because when I was having a low moment in my career as a doctor at Mass General, I went to the chief of medicine to talk about what was going on, and he looked at me after listening to me for a little while, and he said, "Catherine, what makes your heart sing?"
Yeah. Imagine.
And you just named off a whole bunch of ways that we each look for what is it that makes our heart sing. And so there was this synchronicity
It's crazy.
between that advice that I got or that question that I got, which led me to more inquiry and meeting you and learning about heart song.
That's amazing. And what makes your heart sing wasn't what you were doing, right?
Correct. Yeah, I had to make a shift. I had to make a shift.
Yeah.
So that's part of your story that I want to capture in this podcast because clearly you made a big shift when you
Hmm.
discovered yoga and you
Yeah.
had these two little kids, and you've continued to make shifts.
Yeah.
Talk to us a bit about other shifts that you've made in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. It kind of goes back. I'll just backtrack a little bit. Before I had my babies, I worked in screen printing. I had been there for 11 years. And that was in a fun company. We screen printed T-shirts and sweatshirts and bags. We worked with schools all over the country. We'd put their logo and their name. It was very what I would call old school. Maybe a Spartan, East Longmeadow Spartans. Like that. Very simple. They made me the material safety data collector, which was a mistake for them because I began to read what was in the ink and the lacquer thinner and the cleaners and all the stuff I was using regularly every single day without protection, without ventilation, without gloves, without nothing. And I went, what is this? Carcinogenic, mutagenic, reproductive hazard.
Hmm.
And I said to my boss, I cannot be here. I cannot be here. I want to have children. I can't be in this environment. So like there's these milestones that happen and I left and I just left and I cut our income in half. Sorry, Tony. It was a big deal, but he supported it somehow. Bless that man's heart and my family. No, I cannot do this anymore. It doesn't serve me and it feels dangerous. So off I went and I did small, fun little things around town. I had a job at it was at a law firm in Springfield for a little while, and I was doing real estate title examining, and people would see me there from town and be like, "What are you doing here?" So I work for the law firm, and they're like, "No, you don't." I go, "Yes, I do. Yes, I do." I said, "But I'm teaching yoga at night part time." Oh, that makes more sense. And I'd be like, "Really? Just by what?" So sort of like, yeah, that wasn't where I belonged. Where did I belong? And I was going to take the month off to do yoga teacher training, and I told my boss, "I'm taking this time off," and I got a leave of absence. And almost right before I left, I said, "I don't think I'm ever going back." And I went into the office and I said to him, "I'm not coming back. I know I'm not coming back." He's like, "Okay, it's there for you if you want it, but okay." And then I never looked back. And off I went on this new adventure. Slowly over time, you listen, you pay attention, you see what are the things that need shifting and changing. And yoga is also a lifestyle. It can be, it doesn't have to be. You go to yoga and you have life. But if you start to pay attention, it slips into life and it's all about being kind, being mindful. How do you feel when whatever it is, how do you feel? People say, "Will I quit smoking if I come to yoga?" And the answer is, yeah, you probably will, because you're going to feel your lungs and get to know them, and they're not going to be happy with what you're doing. And will I lose weight? You might, because, well, you're going to be moving your body, but you might notice, oh, I had this for dinner and I'm not feeling good today. Or, oh my gosh, I don't really need a bag of chips. I just need to take a nap. So you start to hear that inner wisdom. But even the yogis can get stressed and anxious and have difficulties. As I'm going to fast forward really kind of ahead. Um, COVID time, pandemic, terrible for so many, heartbreaking and losses and you know changes. And my world here, I shut down the studio, went virtual, got all of my people online, started teaching from home and hold it together. I owed people classes. They had paid me for classes. How am I going to they need classes. And my world went upside down. And I was sleeping, staying up all night, sleeping in, eating too much, drinking too much red wine, not feeling great in the morning, whenever the morning was. Became like a joke, Blur's Day. It was sort of a joke. Everybody was doing it. It was like everyone's doing this, but not everybody. Not everybody was feeling really good, and I wasn't feeling really good. My blood pressure was high, my sleep was interrupted. I'd wake up like in the middle of the night and I thought it was stress. Waking me. I had sleep apnea. That's what I got. Sleep apnea. Couldn't believe it. So I had to pay attention. What am I going to do for myself? What changes do I need to make? And all the wisdom that people have been saying over the years, a better diet. What about a vegetarian diet? What about a vegan diet? But maybe even before, moving forward, I did have the luxury of having wonderful mentors and wonderful teachers. Um, One in particular, her name is Beryl Bender, and she's written a whole bunch of books, and she's an advocate for animal rights, and she is a full-on vegetarian and then vegan, and she's always been, "Hey, Sheila, have you tried this? Hey, Sheila, can you do that?" Um, I want to be like, "Well, I can try it, but I'm not sure if it's me." I had this idea that if I was doing all this yoga and all these really good things, that I was taking good care of myself. And I could be just I would say, I'm just a regular uh, redheaded Irish Catholic, yogi who loves suburban yogi who loves yoga and life. But um, sometimes things catch up with you, and that was the pandemic. That was so difficult for so many people, and losses and changes and challenges and sadness and fear and the world shutting down, my work shutting down, and people had paid me for classes. I had a box full of cards of prepaid yoga classes, and I had an obligation to deliver practice and yoga to my people. And I was like, what am I going to do? And then I learned about Zoom. And within a week to 2 weeks, I was up and running, teaching from home. And so were my teachers. And we survived this thing. And I remember Beryl would say to me, Sheila, you're a yogi. This is the time for you to step up. You can't pull those covers over your head. You have work to do. You've been in training for this all your life. I was like, I have a responsibility. Uh, yet I was getting worn down. I was getting worn down. I was not feeling well. I was not sleeping well. I would wake up in a wrap of blankets like I was drowning. What is this? I remembered I had a weighted blanket. I started having to use a weighted blanket to hold me down. So I would toss and turn and roll and wake up and swim out of the night into the day going, what's happening? My blood pressure was up. I was grinding my teeth. My skin was out. Like everything was like, it's just awful. And I was, what is going on? And then we come out of the pandemic. I have my first doctor's appointment, and she's like, all right, well, you've gained some weight, your blood pressure's up, you've got to get some control here. And I was like, but I don't know what to do. I do what I don't, but I knew what to do. I had to rein things in. I had to make some changes. Then they diagnosed me with sleep apnea, and I was like, there is no way I'm going to wear this thing for the next 30 years. Absolutely not. But I don't want to die of a stroke. Well, how else, what's going to keep me from dying of a stroke? Well, you shouldn't drink. Well, I like red wine, but you shouldn't drink. Ugh, that's going to keep you up. You're not going to sleep. Everything kept going back to that. I thought, oh my God, I'm going to have to give up drinking. What? This Irish Catholic suburban girl? I'm going to do this? Hell yeah. I got to do this because I need to get my blood pressure under control. How do you do it? You got to watch your diet. You can't have alcohol. You've got to pay attention. You've got to do this. But in the meantime, and that was the thing that was in my head for a while. It kept kept surfacing. That would be a good thing to do. I met your dad. You want to talk about that?
Sure.
Because that was another pivotal point. So I'm rolling around in my, I'm not feeling good. What am I going to do? That was in summertime. 3 years ago, almost 3 summers ago. And I met this guy. His name was Chuck. He was 90 years old. He wanted to come to yoga. His daughter got in touch with me. Turns out this guy not only is a yogi that in the making, he's vegan. He's what? He's vegan. He doesn't eat meat. I don't eat meat. My daughter, I reversed my heart disease. I am a healthy 90-year-old man with some anxiety who's looking for not quite sure what. So maybe you could speak to that, like your call to me.
Yeah, he was having a lot of issues with anxiety and
That's what I
wanting
remember.
to control things, which
Mm.
you see as people get older, they sometimes their world gets smaller. And but he was living alone. My mom had passed a few years prior, and the anxiety, we could just see it escalating. So I asked him, would he be willing to do yoga?
Imagine
And
90.
he said, okay. And then I looked online, and there was a place just down the street from his house called Heartsong Yoga. And You answered the phone when I called,
Mhm.
and you invited us in, and we had a little tour,
Yeah.
and he liked you.
Yeah, and I was scared. I was like, "Oh, this guy," 'cause you said he's an elegant man, a creative man. You gave me a little background, an artist, a teacher. Um, I wanted him to like yoga. I did, 'cause I was just like, "Oh, this is amazing." And you both came in, and we took the tour around the studio, talked about yoga. Do I have to take my shoes off? Oh, you do, but you don't really have to, but if you do, it's good. Like he said, I don't know anything about yoga and I want to learn. I'd have to learn. I need to know. You could tell I need to know. And we just chatted and talked and hit it off. And then he said, "Would you like to come for dinner tonight?" And I was like, well, I don't usually, in my head, I don't usually do this, but I'm intrigued. You know how life is. The right people, the right time, the right moment. I'm intrigued. I think I will. Oh, it was a beautiful early summer day, like one of the first beautiful days. All right, here's my address. Okay, I'll put it in my GPS and drive on over. And it's in East Long Meadow in a neighborhood that I know. And you were there to greet me. David was in the kitchen cooking. Chuck took us out to a little gazebo in the back and we had dinner and it was all vegan. And there was no wine served. Normally, I have a glass of wine with dinner because that's what you do. No, and things were going click, click, click in my brain like, and this vital, vibrant man who's a vegan, as is my teacher Beryl, and she's in her early 80s. I mean, this vital, beautiful woman, you, vegan, David, vegan. We had ice cream. We had a delicious meal. We had such a wonderful meal. And I drove home and I was like, something was going in my brain. What's happening? Who is this guy? I was just fascinated and he started to come to yoga, chair yoga, and then he advocated, please, 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 can we add another class? And we did. He started to come to a place in town where I taught chair yoga. Everyone fell in love with this man. We all fell in love with one another. And it was so beautiful. And that was in the summer into the fall. It was around the fall. It was around Thanksgiving where I was really having a hard time sleeping. Was really feeling not so great. And I kept thinking, there's another way. I know there's another way. I don't know what it is, but there's another way. And then I thought, well, step one, no alcohol. That was January 2nd, not the 1st, because that's a party. The 2nd, January 2nd. And I knew I was going to make that commitment and I got support. I started to follow this wonderful sort of the people who podcast and talk about vitality and life and clarity. And it all started to come into play. And then all of a sudden, it's a lifestyle. Not all of a sudden, because it was work, but it was a joy. It was a gift. Every day was a gift. It was like, I get to do this. And I call that the flipperoonie. You go like, I get to do this. Not I have to. What would you like to drink? I'd love a seltzer water with some lime. Thank you. I get to have that. I mean, everything is so then Chuck's my buddy. We're talking about our diets. You got to meet my daughter. You got to get to know her. That's you. Oh, you do this thing. Whole foods, plant-based. Yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah, I know about that, but nah, not me. Oh, what happened was my teacher Beryl, she sent me a cookbook. It was vegan Instapot cookbook. And I call it, Beryl, I don't have an Instapot. What the heck? I don't need this cookbook. And I put that aside. So much for that. And then she sent me an Instapot. I was like, okay, Beryl, I got it. I'm getting this. I'm all right. I got this idea. Okay, maybe I'm going to be able to do this. And then you were doing a year-long exploration in whole food, plant-based living online with a small group for support, for coaching, for inspiration, just like the alcohol-free lifestyle that I was working with. Same kind of, you're going to sit down, you're accountable. How you doing? What are you eating? How's it going? Well, this kind of makes me feel good. Hmm. I'm dialing in. Oh, meanwhile, guess what I did? No more sleep apnea. Gone. Was retested. Gone. Blood pressure down. Weight down. It kind of plays back and forth. Depends, but I feel good. I feel good. And skin clear, right? A combination of all these things. Who wouldn't want to stay on the path, right? And with a coach and with support and good recipes and the Instapot, I just went for it. I just said, I'm in. I'm in. Okay, I'm in. And that happens like at some point you're like, all right, I'm done with this. I don't feel good. Do I want to just continue not feeling good? Do I want to be at 80% or do I want to try to like be all here? Be here. So that's where I'm at right now. I went on, I've been on vacations. I've had parties, I've had birthdays, I've had events. You know what I made for my birthday? My birthday is on St. Patrick's Day. Vegan corned beef dinner. Marinated the tofu, cooked the cabbage and the potatoes and the carrots and everything, and it was delicious. And had everyone over for dinner. And that's what we ate. I didn't make a corned beef and vegan. I was just like, this is it. We're making vegan. And it's a blast. It's creative and it's fun. I also made this most delicious gluten-free vegan chocolate cake with chocolate frosting. It wasn't like good for you. It was full of sugar and goodies, but it fit. It was the right thing. It was delicious. And so I'm just having a ball. And I thank you because I think for me and maybe other people, you need to show up for someone. Someone's like, I'll see you on Sunday at 1 o'clock. And you're like, okay. I said I was going to go because that's part of it too. I said I was going to, so I'm going to do it. I said I was going to, and I get to do it. So I'm doing it. And then, quoting one of my best friends, she says, best day ever. How lucky am I?
So that little journey led you to become a facilitator in Living Whole Online.
Imagine that.
And I think it's a great example of who is creating this project in the first place. Is people who are doing interesting things, they're expert in various things, and they are curious and they're action takers. And you are all of those things and many more.
Thank you.
What is it that's appealing to you about being part of Living Whole Online?
Well, I think there's lots of chapters in our life, in our lives. I think you can begin again at any time. I think that things come into life at the right time. It's like when I said to my therapist, I don't like yoga. I had tried it before. It wasn't the right time. It wasn't the right teacher. It wasn't the right moment. So things fall into place. Serendipity, I don't know. Divine order, I like to say. But there's this beautiful thing, living whole living, that speaks to me just like Heartsong spoke to you. And I appreciate I came in sort of you were up, you were running, stuff is happening. So to come in and see what you've done and who you've worked with, I get to kind of rub elbows with that. Like, hey, I love how proud to be a part of it. Um, and it's another chance to say yes, to step up to something. Teachers like you are, a mentor and a teacher, see something in someone, and then you say, I think you might be able to do this. And the only answer I can have is yes. And I've said that to my students in teacher training. The only thing you can say is yes. You can go home and cry about it. You can go home and go, what have I done? But you got to get up and say yes. You got to show up. So that's sort of what you did in a way. Like, hey, you could do this. And then I say, okay, all right. And then it gives me the chance to walk the talk, because that's part of it too, to be authentic, to show up. So that also reminds me, what you teach, you have to practice, right? So if I'm going to talk about this, then I'm going to have to go home and make a whole food plant-based dinner, or choose one somewhere out and about. Even if you're on a beautiful vacation, there's still great, delicious food to be had. Whole food plant-based. Yum. Delicious. I'm eating really good. I'm not missing anything. So, yeah.
And you're radiant, you're glowing.
Wow, thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much for spending this time with me and for sharing with the Living Whole Online community
Awesome.
a bit of your story.
Thank you.
We're looking forward so much to more filming of more yoga classes
Yeah.
and your collaboration with Amy Roberts
Mhm.
with Ayurveda.
Mhm.
There's
Another natural step. It's their sister sciences. That's what they call that. Yeah.
thank you.
I am thrilled to be here. So thank you. And we look forward to our adventures. What comes next? Who knows? Anything's possible. Mhm.